There it is.
But after a word from FanDuel, the NBA playoffs are almost here, guys. Tip-off for the NBA playoffs is coming up in just a few days. And FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, when you join FanDuel and place a $5 bet, you'll get $250 in bonus bets if that first $5 bet wins. Don't miss out. Head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and claim your $250 in bonus bets. Now we have a winning FanDuel ticket today from our guy Joshua Heisler, who sends us in winning tickets all the time. He had a multi-sport same-day game parlay with the money lines. He had the Tigers, the Guardians, the Grizzlies, the Pacers, the Cavs, the Celtics, and the Royals. He bet $15, won $157.81. So shout out to Joshua Heisler for winning our FanDuel ticket of the day. If you have winning tickets, make sure you send them in so we can feature them here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. But guys, we start with the big news this morning. Joe Flacco is black. Flaccovelli, Flacco fever.
Wait, he's black? I thought he was white.
I said back. Did I say black?
I don't know. Jason and I both looked at each other and was like, wow, that is breaking news.
Well, Joe Flacco is not black, but he is back in Cleveland. G. Bush, after you and I had discussed the potential of Joe Flacco returning, Steve Becker sent us a group number about the Flacco signing, and then Tyvis sent us a group text about the Flacco signing. Then an hour later, G. Bush chimed in and said, did y'all see this Flacco-Velli's back? So, G, as the last one to chime in on the group chat, I give you the microphone first on the show. Thoughts on Joe Flacco being back? He also just sent us a text,
Lindbergh made it. I don't know what that means. But
I had one cooked up that said Amelia Earhart went missing. Listen, Joe Flacco's back in the mix, man. Listen, I like it. I'm excited, man. Here's what I'll say. I think this means Travis Hunter is the guy at 2. And I'm excited for one fact, is because I think Kevin Stefanski is going to happily go right back to what he does preferably. He is like, forget all that shotgun stuff, forget all that other stuff. We're going to practice our quarterbacks turning their backs to the defense 75% of the time.
I applaud that.
And now it sets yourself up where even if you do get a Travis Hunter, you know what I like about this the most is we know one thing about Joe Flacco. He may throw you the ball a few times, but he ain't got no problem throwing it downfield. So if you worried about Travis Hunter getting involved, and Jerry Jeudy should be the most excited man in the world because under Jameis Winston, who's another guy that throws the ball down the field, he thrived. So now, and it kind of makes sense. And I don't want to think that they told Myles Garrett this, but I mean, would you be kind of excited if you say, hey, listen, man, hey, Myles, look, we might should have brought Joe back last year. We tripped a little bit. We brought him back this year, and we're going to get you another young quarterback. So, listen, remember, you had a pretty good time on a Thursday night. Remember that? He's like, all right, I get that. So, I like it. And plus what it did, and this was savvy, too. I was like, you got to give your fan base hope. Jason, you talk about it. They don't really prefer any of these guys in this draft, and they said they're not going to force it. So if they're not going to force it and they don't really believe in it, they can still draft another guy or move back into the second round or do whatever they're going to do at quarterback. But they gave the Browns fans a familiar face, and this was cheap political points that they just scored because 75% of the fan base is nostalgic. They'll go right back to the time they had a couple of years ago. And guess what? The Browns fans will be elated about it. I don't know if he's going to start all, 17 games. He played pretty bad last year, but people don't care about that.
I'll take the under on that.
People don't care about that. They just want to remember what they want to remember. And in the moment, the Browns did something that some people would be excited about.
There was one thing that happened more recently that Browns fans might be concerned about, and that was the playoff game against Houston.
Yes, yeah, they forgot about that too.
We had this magical, written by Hollywood's most creative storytellers, 5-game stretch at the end of the 23 season. Mm-hmm. It was nothing short of magical. I'd never seen anything like it. This guy was on the couch and jumped off the couch, put his Superman cape on, and flew the Browns to the playoffs. And then promptly threw the ball to Houston as much as he possibly could.
3 to 4 times.
Yeah, so that was disappointing. There's a lot of good about this, and there's a lot of bad. Also on the good, you mentioned Jerry Jeudy's going to be happy. We just got an all-pro tight end back.
Yeah.
And David Njoku.
Yep.
who absolutely, that was, his cheat code was unlocked when Joe Flacco was here. That is the David Njoku that we have been waiting for 7 years. There he is. There he is. He's an all-pro tight end, at least a Pro Bowl tight end. So I like that. Obviously, he's 40. So there's that.
You went to high school with him?
Yeah. He was a grade ahead of me.
Right.
I did some numbers searching, though. And numbers, you can tell whatever story you want with numbers. That's why I know the people that scream analytics, analytics, analytics. Well, you give me a stat that supports something, and I guarantee you I will find a stat that tears that down. That's the way numbers work. But these are the numbers as they are. In 11 starts over the last 2 years, he's thrown 25 touchdowns, and he's averaging 260 yards per game. Those are numbers that we haven't seen in this town since briefly Baker Mayfield. But prior to that, I don't know, Bernie Kosar? I don't know how far back you got to go. Obviously, the good, the bad. Let me give you an analytic that says, okay, that's great. He threw 15 interceptions in those 11 starts. His teams were 6-5 during those 11 starts. So here's what I look at this move as. You can't go 3 wins again. You can't do it. It's impossible. You're trying to build a stadium. You need public support. You need government support. You better show that you know what you're doing. And 3-14 doesn't show you know what you're doing. If you're asking for hundreds of millions of dollars, in actuality billions of dollars, you better pony up with some acumen on the football field. Joe Flacco gives you the adult in the room. He gives you the mature quarterback that can at least bring legitimacy back to the program if he stays healthy. That's the biggest if. I don't know if he can at 40 years old. He's big, he's sturdy. Somebody texted me something early this morning that said, very similar style, size as Will Howard. Does that start you thinking down the road? John Gruden made his case that why is Will Howard not the number 1 quarterback in this draft?
Hey, man, listen, I'm glad to see you as an executive producer of that little short he did.
I wish I could have. First of all, that was the best thing he's ever done in his career, and I'm really glad that Barstool's brought it back. I love those quarterback lab segments.
He did a great job. 2 more since the Will Howard one.
Yeah.
He asked the same question, why isn't this guy the number 1 pick? And
yeah.
In all 3 of them so far. So
however,
take it with a little grain of salt.
However, I love the way he framed it. You're 6'5", 237.
Same size as Josh Allen.
What was Josh Allen coming out of college? You won the national championship. Why are you 6th on these? And it's a great question to ask. And I don't know that Will Howard gave the exact right answer that I wanted to hear, but I'm not saying they're going to draft Will Howard because they have Joe Flacco in the mix. What I'm saying is this buys them time. If they don't find their quarterback in this year's draft, maybe he's in next year's draft and they have a shot to do it all over again. Overall, though, if I had to grade the move a thumbs up or a thumbs down, it's a thumbs up. But I still have a question mark on who exactly is going to be on this roster. Because you've got 3 quarterbacks on the roster right now, and they are drafting at least 1 quarterback. They absolutely are drafting at least 1. So, ultimately, someone's got to go.
Well, Deshaun will be on IR.
He will be on IR, but at some point next year, is he going to be on the active roster?
No.
Do we know that?
No.
So what he's saying about his timetable is just complete nonsense.
I mean, I don't see any way that he
I don't either.
is in a Browns uniform. They put him. He's on IR.
Okay, good.
I'm not 100% that they will draft a quarterback at this point, but I tend to think, yes, they're going to draft 1. It's not going to be at 2. I think we know that.
Yep.
If I'm being totally honest, I don't get the Flacco thing. I don't get it.
Don't get it.
I don't understand it.
Yeah.
What's the difference in Flacco and Jameis Winston? They're both veterans who throw for a ton of yards and throw a ton of interceptions.
What you're arguing is what I was kind of arguing last year. I said he's basically the black Joe Flacco. I wouldn't have necessarily advocated kicking him to the curb either.
I just don't understand where are you trying to go with a 40-year-old quarterback? What are you trying to? What are you trying?
Bridge.
Like it's for me, it's every question goes back to where are you trying to go? What are you trying to accomplish? I don't understand what you're trying to accomplish with a 40-year-old quarterback.
Well, isn't he? He's just a bridge.
Well, you had
right?
a bridge, and Kenny Pickett. It's the same thing.
Well, is Kenny Pickett really a bridge?
He started for 2 years. Yeah,
I know, but we saw what he.
Now, I actually think Kenny is going to be a long-term backup here, and he'll be great as a long-term backup. What they have, here's what they have in Flacco and Pickett. They have 2 adults who will meet the responsibilities, who will lead the locker room, who you don't have to worry about off the field, I don't think, who are not Instagram models,
which I love.
I have heard nothing but raving things about Kenny Pickett in terms of as a leader, in terms of what he's like in the locker room. Obviously, we know Flacco is an adult who meets his responsibilities. He was a terrific leader when he was here.
Yeah.
So if that's what you're trying to get out of it, all right, I guess. But I just don't understand what you're trying to accomplish with bringing back a 40-year-old quarterback.
I'll tell you, I'll echo your sentiments. You were right when it comes to the situation. You saying, listen, they're not thinking about now; they're thinking about when.
Absolutely, and they're thinking about the dome, and they're thinking about the 2026 quarterback.
Yeah, so trying to look like a professional franchise.
So here's what they really did: they gave to their base some nice red meat.
You're absolutely right.
They gave that.
I'm sorry for everything we've put you through these last couple of years.
Here's your guy.
We know how much you like him.
That's your man.
We'll sign Nick Chubb back too if that's
Now,
the case.
listen, I think that we haven't brought this up yet, and I'm surprised. What does it say to you about the prospects of bringing one Kirk Cousins to town?
Oh, it's over.
Oh, that's done.
And you know
Done.
what?
Done.
And if I have to pick between Cousins and Flacco, I guess give me Flacco. Because
I would too.
You don't have to
Cheaper.
trade for him.
Yep, I
He's
would.
cheaper. It's going to cost you less. It's not going to cost you a draft pick to
He's
bring him in.
also better.
I think ultimately
know.
what the conversation in the Browns front office was this. Let's compare the pros and cons of bringing Joe Flacco in and the pros and cons of bringing Kirk Cousins in. And ultimately, I don't know that I would go so far as definitively say, well, he's better. I don't know that I can go that far, but I think you're getting the same thing. You're getting a seasoned, veteran, older NFL quarterback.
Yeah.
So then what's the deciding factor? What's the cost going to be? When we get Joe for $4, we'll pay him $13. If we have to pay him $13, we'll gladly write $9 million for an extra 6 wins? Okay.
And I tell you what, you bring Flacco in, it automatically, it kind of is like a big blanket that puts a fire out. Like, okay, Deshaun Watson, you may be on the roster, but no one's going to talk about it because you got Flacco.
Whom he did not want on the roster last year.
So he's going to be there. Plus, if you do draft a rookie quarterback, it's great. You can say, all right, well, this is my offense. You see how this guy's running? Because to be honest with you, play action in the way that Stefanski wants to run it is a dying art. If you can find me the amount of quarterbacks that actually thrive on play action fakes and really can run that style of offense, there are few and far between. And Kevin Stefanski probably was like, listen, I'm done with this spread stuff. But most quarterbacks, most young guys are spread guys. They come up on it. So now you get a guy, you put him in the system, in that room, and he's not going to be great at it in the beginning. But what you can do is say, this is one of the guys, this is what we would like you to do, this is our vision. At the end of the day, it's a win-win, it's a low cost, high ceiling, because people already have a history with Flacco. They already know it. And now, because it is Flacco, it also gives you some cover not to play a guy early. Like if you got Flacco and you got Pickett, are people going to be jumping up and down if say, for instance, it's a guy that needs some work, like Milroe needs some work or Jackson Dart needs some work?
It's easier to say we're going to sit him for a year and he's
there
going to
it
watch.
is. And it gives you some cover. And on top of that, you put in that I might get me 7 wins, 8 wins somewhere along the line. And guess what? That saves you. You can forget about getting fired. And you can go in and next year you can look for a quarterback if you really want it that bad.
All right. What's best case scenario? How many games can they win with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett as the quarterbacks? How many games?
7.
Best case scenario.
I think they can win 8.
7.
I think they can win 8 games.
I wouldn't be mad at 8.
All right.
So either way, we all said sub 500.
Yeah.
All right.
best case
So
scenario.
7-8 wins. Where are you drafting next year?
14.
13, 14,
12.
15.
How are you going to get up to get a quarterback?
Well, you got the mortgage all the
Got to make a trade.
So what are we doing?
You got
Where are you trying to go? You
So
see what
Jay,
I'm saying?
let me
Where
ask
are
you
you
this.
trying to go?
Let me ask you this, because I had this conversation with someone yesterday when Joe Flacco was not a part of it. I was actually having this conversation with someone about Kirk Cousins. I kept saying, okay, so what then?
That's what I've been saying for
If not
3
Flacco,
months.
like what? Who?
Like, I wrote in December 2026. I wrote in December 2026 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But you have to have the trade capital to be able to move up if you're not in position. I'm not saying move up to 1, just move up.
We don't even know. I mean, with especially now in college, we don't know that. We don't know who's coming out.
Yeah, okay, but how many times in back-to-back years have there been quarterback classes this bad?
Yeah,
how many times?
That's fair.
It's not going to happen.
But Jay, for them to get the crown jewel, they have to win 2 games.
I'm not saying the crown jewel.
Okay, well,
in the top 5, get to the top 5. Teams trade into the top 5 all the time to go get a quarterback.
So again, conflicting messages and objectives. You want to win games to show these people that you're asking for tens of millions or billions of dollars.
But you're not asking the people. They never took it in front of the people.
The government,
they're good with DeWine. I will be shocked if DeWine vetoes this.
He won't. It's a done deal.
Okay, so they got the money. They got the money.
I know, but again, you're taking $600 million of public funds.
And?
Don't give me another 3 and 14. You don't deserve it.
What if you do? It doesn't matter. There's no recourse.
I know, but
they never took this before the public for a reason because they knew it would never pass.
Of course it would.
So they backdoored the whole thing.
They tried to say, well, let's go right to the lawmakers.
Oh, yeah.
And you know what the smart lawmakers here said? Yeah, no.
It doesn't matter. They're going to get it.
You know the lawmakers that were in power? They said, okay, who cares what you guys think? We're going to give you that stadium.
Yeah, well, because they're looking at it as an economic driver. And I get that, and it will be. Like, I've had people, I don't know that world at all. I've had people tell me that from an economic driver standpoint, it will be a behemoth. We're going to get a Super Bowl. That will happen. Someone told me that just off what the Super Bowl brings to Cleveland, it's worth it.
I would probably agree with that.
And if the numbers that I've seen as to how much that means economically to a city, it's in line with that.
Yeah.
It will be a financial boon like we've never seen before.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of major events here. NBA championships, World Series games.
All-Star
that brings
games.
four dates, not one. None of it will compare to what the Super Bowl brings with one Sunday in February.
I would tend to agree.
So, the economic people that know this side tell me, Jay, it doesn't matter. He can be 2 and 15, and there could be 20,000 empty seats. This is going to drive money into our area like we've never seen before. It's going to make this thing seem like a toy box.
Yeah.
Okay? I get all of that. At the same time, if you have 3 kids, and the kids in this case are the Guardians, the Cavs, and the Browns, and the parent is local government, city, county, state, and those 3 kids all behave differently. One of them is an honor student and one valedictorian, but had a lot of drama along the way, but they had a valedictorian, and that would be your Cavaliers. Another one of them is on the dean's list every semester. Solid, great student, has always towed the line. And the other student
is a meth head.
Is doing meth and blow and skipping class and has won no academic awards, but tends to be the favorite. For some reason, mom and dad just love the meth head. So when you continually go to mom and dad and say, you got $500 million, we want to build a new wing to our stadium. We got to upgrade our stadium. It's dead last in Major League Baseball. Mom and dad writing those checks. Here you go, here you go, here you go. Eventually, mom and dad are going to look at the problem child and they're going to say, do you really deserve more of our money? And that happened. The city and the state said this. No.
Not the state.
No, I'm sorry, the city and the county.
And he said,
and you know what he did? I'm going to Grandpa.
Yeah.
Grandpa wrote a big check.
He would say, do you know who my brother is? Do you know? You know how much donation money I give during the election? You're gonna get this done. And actually,
the rich people circles makes my skin crawl.
This was never going, like Jason said, this was never going in front of anybody that actually mattered. That was going to be able to stop anything. This thing was always getting greenlit.
Because the state was his trump card.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
and he was like, "Listen, I'm gonna act." He did it in a way where he acted like, this might be in question, and so we got to go back and reanalyze some things.
Jimmy had dinner with Roger Goodell and Jimmy DeWine at the Marble Room at the end of 2023 season.
Yep.
nobody told me, this is just me talking. I think at that point he knew he had it.
Oh yeah,
I think so, too.
right after that asparagus and that ribeye, it was the garlic mash, the asparagus, in the stadium,
a lot of wine too.
and a lot of wine, and that's
So and I asked him at the owners' meetings, if you don't get the county support, what then? And he said there are other ways to do it. I interpreted that as saying I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
But
No.
regardless,
Yeah.
he said there's other ways to do it, but it's better for everyone involved if there's cooperation and a partnership between the county and the team. But he can do it without them. Once he gets the state money, I don't think on-field performance has anything to do with it. Whether they win 3 games, 5, it doesn't matter.
No,
the money's
it
in
does
the
not.
bank.
and this is a thing too, because this is political. How many jobs is that thing going to get over there?
Well, the creation of it are all temporary jobs.
Yeah, right.
18 months, 24 months,
But we
whatever.
don't-
But it is a driver.
Yeah, we don't want to talk about the link, Jay. It's just about the jobs. We're not
Yeah,
going
no,
to put
I
that
always
in
look
fine
at those
print.
studies and I shake my head. Here's the other thing.
Right.
They'll say, well, the stadium project will directly create and maintain 6,000 jobs. Okay, 3,000 of them are people building the stadium. 2 years later, they're back to their next project.
Well,
the other are people that are selling beer and peanuts, and they're making less than an hour than the cost of one of their products.
Yeah, but
to sell.
there's also going to be quite a bit
Hotels.
of retail hotel
That's where
around
Yes.
the
Now-
stadium eventually.
now, here's the problem with that. I always look at these studies, and I've had many conversations with Destination Cleveland and a lot of the organizations like that. And I say, you throw this number out, like this is going to, like the Final Four is going to bring $130 million to the Cleveland economy. Okay, let's dive into that. How much of that immediately leaves when it goes to corporate Hilton, corporate Hyatt,
Right.
and corporate this and that, and Marriott and all of that? Like, I understand that a lot of the local restaurants are packed on those days,
Right.
and that is, you can't overstate the importance of that. So, yes, I think all that's very important, but the jobs created specifically by the stadium, they're all, for the most part, they're service industry jobs. Those aren't like if you brought a chips manufacturing plant.
Oh, no, no,
like
no.
like
Oh, no,
what's
no,
going
no.
on in Central Ohio.
No.
Like now you're talking about 5,000 steady, good-paying jobs that aren't going away
No,
when the season's over.
We're not talking about advanced AI factories and
Much
tech
different
places. That's not it.
I mean, I think we kind of got off the beaten path on the financials of this, and maybe I took us there because I did say that
You did.
He wants them to be legitimate. That's a big part of this. Someone texted me this morning. Well, Jimmy insured he's not going to win 3 games next year, and I think that's probably right. It's provided he can stay healthy, and Jimmy does need to do that because whether they're getting state money or not, and I know that your point is valid, there's still you still have to protect the product. If they move into that stadium and 3 of their last 4 years are sub 500 years, good luck selling those seat licenses and those tickets for what they're going to ask.
That's why 27 and 28 are the runway to 29.
Huge
I said that in December, that it's
Yeah.
all about framing this thing. They'll start probably the PSL process around 2027, I would think. So that's why this is the transition year.
Get ready for sticker shock.
They get you get the quarterback next year, and then you launch, and you hope that you get the right guy, and then you're ready to launch into sales of 27 and 28.